Claire stared at her phone, reading the message again as if the words might rearrange themselves. They didn't. This year it's just Sarah's family. Hope you understand. November sunlight spilled through the tall windows of her Boston apartment, catching the edge of a crystal vase she had bought only last week. Outside, small sailboats dotted the harbor, their white sails glowing against the deep blue water. Everything around her, soft gray furniture, neat shelves, polished marble counters, spoke of success. Yet none of it filled the hollow ache in her chest. Her thumb hovered above the screen. Dozens of replies came to mind, sharp questions and quiet pleas. In the end she typed just one word: enjoy. She set the phone down gently and pressed her palms against the cool countertop. Her reflection on the shiny surface looked calm and controlled. Only the faint tremble in her hands told the truth. Just the day before, Claire had walked through a department store, carefully choosing gifts for the family she thought she'd see. She had picked out stockings with names stitched in gold for her nieces and nephews, a cashmere shawl for Grandma Ruth, a fine bottle of whiskey for Uncle Tom, even a carved cheeseboard for her parents, despite the strained ties. Only last week Grandma Ruth had called her, sounding warm and cheerful. "You're still coming for Thanksgiving, right, sweetheart? I can't wait to see you." Claire had smiled, stirring a pot of cranberry chutney on the stove. "Of course, Grandma. I wouldn't miss it." She had worked on the recipe for weeks, tart but sweet with just enough spice. She imagined it sitting proudly on the family table, but now that picture had crumbled before it could even exist. Her phone rang suddenly, making her jump. It was her cousin Mark. "Claire, did you hear?" he asked, his voice carrying disbelief and anger. "Hear what?" she said, though she already feared the answer. "It's not just you," Mark explained. "They cut out almost everyone. Only Sarah's side of the family was invited. 18 people, Claire. The rest of us? Ignored." Claire froze, her fingers tightening around the phone. "What? Why would they do that?" she asked, her voice shaking. Mark's reply was sharp. "Because Aunt Linda and Uncle Jim want Sarah's picture-perfect family at their picture-perfect table. The rest of us don't fit their story." Claire shut her eyes. It wasn't just about this year. It was about all the years before. "Are you still there?" Mark asked. "Yeah," Claire whispered. "Just trying to process this." "We're thinking about Grandma's place," Mark said. "But it's too small for everyone." Claire turned to the window, watching the golden light ripple across the water. To strangers she was a woman who had it all. Successful, independent, untouched by petty family drama. But inside she felt like the forgotten daughter, the afterthought. Still, as she stood there, something shifted. She lifted her chin and squared her shoulders. The hurt was still there, but alongside it came resolve. She scrolled through her contacts until she found the number she wanted. "Hello, Chef Daniels. This is Claire Miller." Her voice started soft but grew firm as she spoke. "I'd like to host Thanksgiving dinner for 32 people at my New Hampshire home." There was silence on the other end, then a voice filled with surprise and respect. "That's quite a task on short notice, Miss Miller." Claire's eyes lingered on the cruel message still glowing on her phone. "I know," she said evenly. "But it's time for a new tradition, one where everyone belongs." When she hung up, a calmness settled over her chest. Her parents had made their choice to cut her out without a thought. Now she was making hers. And deep down she believed they would regret theirs soon enough. Later that evening, Claire drove to her storage unit on the edge of the city. The cold air bit at her cheeks as she unlocked the metal door. Inside, a harsh fluorescent light flickered on, revealing rows of boxes stacked neatly and labeled in her careful handwriting. High school, college, family photos. She hesitated before pulling down the box marked family. Her heart pounded. A part of her wanted to shut the door and forget everything. But another part, the same part that had called Chef Daniels, pushed her forward. Claire knelt on the concrete floor, opening the first album. Old photos greeted her. Birthdays, Christmas mornings, vacations. In almost every picture, Sarah stood front and center, glowing with attention. Their parents hovered around her proudly, while Claire was pushed to the edge of the frame. Sometimes half her face or one shoulder was cut off. She could still hear her mother's dismissive voice. "You moved just as I clicked." After a while she had stopped pointing it out. She flipped to a page from Christmas morning in 1998. Sarah's smile filled the room as she unwrapped a deluxe art kit she had begged for. 2 pages later, Claire saw herself holding up a plain winter coat, her smile practiced and tight. She remembered wishing for a telescope that year, circling it in catalogs for months. But no one had listened. The disappointment had stung and she had pretended it didn't. Beneath the photos, Claire found something else. Her MIT acceptance letter, still in its envelope, worn from years of folding. She remembered the moment like yesterday. She had run into the kitchen, breathless with excitement. "I got in. MIT Computer Science program, full admission," she had shouted. Her father had barely looked up from his newspaper. "Computer science? That doesn't sound like a real career for a girl." Her mother had added, "We just worry about you, honey. Sarah's teaching degree is more practical." Claire had folded the letter back into her pocket and cried alone at the park. Further down the box she found her college pay stubs, 3 jobs just to cover tuition, because her parents refused to co-sign a student loan. She remembered their words clearly: "Borrowing money is irresponsible. Maybe you should take a semester off." He never did. Instead, she worked mornings in the cafeteria, afternoons in the library, and nights freelancing in coding until exhaustion became normal. 6 months later, her parents refinanced their house to pay for Sarah's wedding. "Worth every penny," her father had said proudly. Claire's phone buzzed, dragging her out of memory. Grandma Ruth's name lit the screen. Claire answered quickly. "I just heard what happened," Grandma said, her voice tight with anger. "Linda told me they're keeping Thanksgiving small. What she didn't say is that they've cut out half the family." "It's fine, Grandma," Claire said automatically. "It is not fine." Grandma Ruth snapped. "I know what they've done. And it's been happening your whole life. I should have spoken up years ago." The words struck Claire like a heavy weight, validation she had never expected. She steadied her voice. "I'm hosting this year, Grandma. At the New Hampshire place. Everyone's invited." "The house you bought last year?" Grandma Ruth asked softly. "The one they never visited?" "Yes. That one." There was silence, then warmth in her grandmother's voice. "I'll be there, sweetheart. And I'll make sure everyone knows you're the one who saved Thanksgiving." By the next morning, messages poured into Claire's phone. Cousins, aunts, uncles, all excited and eager. Mark had rallied the family, arranging carpools and planning who would bring extra side dishes. Her assistant, Olivia, was already helping elderly relatives with transportation. Chef Daniel sent a menu draft, classic family recipes but elevated. For the first time in years, Claire felt something she hadn't in a long time. She felt chosen. The following day she drove up the winding driveway of her New Hampshire estate. The colonial-style mansion rose before her, its white columns gleaming against the November sky. The property stretched across 40 acres with bare trees standing like guards around the house. Alan, the caretaker, greeted her warmly at the door. "Good timing, Miss Miller. Forecast says snow by next week. I've checked the generator twice already." "Thank you, Alan. We'll have about 30 guests for Thanksgiving," Claire told him. If he was surprised, he didn't show it. That night, Claire walked through the guest rooms one by one. For Grandma Ruth, she set out the softest pillows and a vase of lavender by the bed. For Uncle Tom and Aunt Sarah, she unfolded quilts she had bought from a Vermont artisan. For the children, she placed baskets of toys and books matched to their ages. In the dining hall, she arranged 32 handwritten place cards, running her finger over her own name. She paused, then set her card at the head of the long table. "This time," she whispered to herself, "I choose where I belong." The next morning, Claire stood in the grand dining room, sunlight pouring through the tall windows and reflecting off the polished mahogany table. She lined up the place cards one last time, her hand steady but her heart racing. For a moment she imagined her mother's voice criticizing the spectacle, calling it unnecessary. The thought almost made her laugh. "They excluded me without hesitation," she reminded herself. "Now they're worried about appearances." She placed her own card firmly at the head of the table and whispered, "Let them see what they missed." Alan appeared in the doorway, his weathered face holding quiet concern. "Miss Miller," he said, "the weather service is predicting a storm system moving in this afternoon. I've checked the generator again, but with so many people here," he let the words trail off. Claire gave him a grateful nod. "Thank you, Alan. Make sure extra blankets are in every room." We'll be fine. He nodded. Yes, Miss Miller. That evening, Claire scrolled through social media despite her better judgment. Sarah's latest post filled her screen. So blessed to spend Thanksgiving with true family this year. Family first. The comments overflowed with heart emojis from her in-laws and neighbors. No one mentioned the 18 relatives who had been quietly cut out. Claire's jaw tightened. Her voicemail icon blinked. Her father's voice played, sharp and dismissive. Claire, you're being dramatic. If you wanted to host, you could have discussed it. Don't embarrass the family. She deleted the message without finishing it. Minutes later, Mark called again. Just so you know, he said, his voice low and tense. They're calling around trying to convince people not to come. Saying you're showing off. Claire's heart sank. Are people canceling? Not at all, Mark said quickly. The opposite. Everyone's more determined than ever. Grandma told Aunt Linda to pound sand. Claire laughed out loud for the first time in days. Grandma actually said that? She did. Word for word, Mark replied, grinning through the phone. The day before Thanksgiving, the first snowflakes fell as cars began pulling into the long driveway. Cousin Rachel stepped out of a sedan with her children, their eyes wide at the sight of the grand estate. Is this a castle? Little Emma asked, tugging on Claire's hand. Just a very big house, Claire said gently, kneeling to the girl's level. More cars arrived, and soon the house filled with laughter, chatter, and the smell of food. Chef Daniels and his team moved like clockwork in the kitchen, preparing the feast. Grandma Ruth arrived last, her silver hair dusted with snow. She stepped into the entryway and handed her coat to Alan. Your mother thinks I'm home in bed with a headache, she said with a mischievous glint in her eyes. But I'd rather be here, with the people who know what family truly means. She cupped Claire's face in her soft hands. They've been doing this to you since you were a little girl. I should have spoken up sooner. Claire's throat tightened. Thank you, Grandma, she whispered. Soon the house was alive in a way it had never been before. Children raced through the halls, cousins unpacked homemade side dishes, uncles argued cheerfully about football. Claire walked through the dining room, breathing in the smell of rosemary and sage. For the first time, this estate felt like a home instead of an empty investment. She caught sight of Chef Daniels arranging the cranberry chutney beside the roasted turkey. Thank you for all this, she told him. He smiled. Creating joy through food is what I love most. This is what matters. By late afternoon, the snow had turned into a full blizzard. The windows rattled under the wind as everyone gathered at the table. 32 chairs, every one filled. Uncle Tom raised his glass to offer a toast when the lights suddenly flickered and went out. Darkness swallowed the room. Generator will kick in, Alan called out, but seconds stretched into minutes. No light, no heat. Instead of panic, something unexpected happened. A cousin began humming Amazing Grace. Another voice joined, then another. Soon the entire table sang softly in the candlelight as Mark passed out flashlights and candles. Grandma Ruth's trembling voice rose above the rest, strong despite her age. Claire looked around the glowing faces and felt something she had chased her whole life. True connection. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't polished. But it was real. 20 minutes later, the generator roared back to life, filling the house with light and warmth. But part of Claire wished it hadn't. In the flickering candlelight, surrounded by laughter and song, she had found what her parents' perfect table never gave her: belonging. Alan appeared at her side. Storm knocked out power across the county. Reports say your parents' neighborhood will be without electricity for hours. Just the 7 of them in that big house, he added. Claire's gaze swept the room, 32 people warm and fed. For the first time in years, she smiled without bitterness. The next morning, sunlight streamed through the eastern windows of Claire's estate. Snow glittered across the fields outside like diamonds. Inside, cousins lingered over coffee and pastries, children played by the fireplace, and the house hummed with life. Claire refilled Grandma Ruth's cup. Yesterday was perfect, Grandma whispered, her eyes sparkling. The best Thanksgiving in years. And it's because of you. Claire's phone buzzed with notifications. Photos and videos of the night before were already spreading online. Cousin Tyler had posted a shot of the dining table glowing with candles, writing, "The most beautiful Thanksgiving we've ever had." Another cousin shared a video of everyone singing during the blackout. The estate looked magical, Snow swirling outside, warmth glowing inside. Claire scrolled quietly, her heart both light and heavy. Rachel, one of her cousins, leaned over her shoulder. You know, you're barely in any of these pictures. Claire nodded with a soft smile. I don't need to be. The gathering speaks for itself. Just then her phone rang. Rachel's eyes widened. It's Sarah's husband. Claire answered calmly. Hello, David. Claire, his voice was strained. I just wanted to say, yesterday looked nice. It was, she said simply. He hesitated. I accidentally tagged your parents in a post last night. Melissa's upset. People are asking questions. Claire's lips curved. That tends to happen when the truth comes out. By noon, her parents' phones were blowing up. Neighbors, church members, friends. Everyone was asking why they weren't at the larger family gathering. Someone had even posted a side-by-side photo. Claire's vibrant table of 32, against her parents' lonely table of 7. The difference was striking. Grandma Ruth chuckled. Your mother called me already furious. I told her it was the first time the family felt whole in years. That evening, Claire finally answered one of her parents' calls. Her mother's voice came sharp and trembling. How could you do this to us? Throw some extravagant party just to humiliate us? Claire stayed calm. I only set another table because you told me I wasn't invited to yours. You know that's not. Her mother started but stopped when Claire cut in. It's exactly what happened. Her father's voice joined in, stern but uneasy. Claire, this has gotten out of hand. Let's meet in person and discuss. Fine, Claire replied. But first let me clarify something. 2 months ago I mentioned selling my company. No one cared. No one even asked what happened. Silence filled the line. I sold CyberGuard for $420 million, she said evenly. Her father sucked in a breath, stunned. Claire ended the call before either could respond. 2 days later the doorbell rang. Claire opened it to find her parents standing there. Her mother clutched an old photo album to her chest. We were in the neighborhood, her father said too casually. Thought we'd stop by. Claire stepped aside. Come in. They sat stiffly on her white sofa, eyes darting at the tall windows and expensive art. Her mother opened the album on the coffee table. Remember this? Your 8th birthday. Claire glanced at the picture. Sarah blowing out candles, herself half cropped out at the edge. Her voice was steady. Yes. That was the year you forgot my cake. Grandma made cupcakes instead. Her mother's smile faltered. Claire disappeared into her office and returned with a storage box labeled evidence. She placed it on the table and began pulling out items. Her MIT letter, her pay stubs, her rejected loan applications. All those years you overlooked me. I had to prove I wasn't imagining it. So I kept proof. Her father leaned forward. We should put the past behind us. Her mother reached for her hand. We're family, Claire. Claire didn't move. Family requires respect. Her father cleared his throat. Well, you've done well now. If you ever need financial advice, I know people who specialize in high net worth individuals. Claire almost laughed. I already have a team. What I don't have is your approval, and I don't need it anymore. Just then her phone rang. She pressed speaker. Sarah's voice filled the room. Claire, I've been thinking since Thanksgiving. I've always been jealous. You're smarter, braver. I was just the obedient daughter. They pitted us against each other. Her mother gasped. What are you saying? You know exactly what I'm saying, Sarah replied firmly. Claire got punished for being exceptional. I got praised for being compliant. A knock came at the door. Grandma Ruth entered, her presence calm but commanding. She looked straight at Claire's parents. I followed you here. And I'm glad. Because this conversation is long overdue. Her father stiffened. This isn't your concern. Grandma Ruth's voice cut like glass. It is. For decades I've watched you diminish one daughter while worshipping the other. Enough. Her parents sat in silence, the weight of truth pressing down. For the first time, Claire saw her mother's shoulders slump, real tears sliding down her cheeks. I didn't realize. I didn't see. Claire didn't rush to comfort her. That girl was gone. She sat tall, flanked by Grandma Ruth and Sarah's unexpected honesty from the phone. Now you see. What you do next is your choice. A month later, snow covered the estate in a white blanket. Christmas lights twinkled along the roofline as cars pulled into the driveway. Her parents, Sarah's family, cousins, uncles, aunts. The dining room glowed beneath crystal chandeliers. This time, no head of the table, just a circle where everyone sat as equals. Claire raised her glass. To new beginnings. Her mother's voice trembled as she added, and to our extraordinary daughter. Laughter and warmth filled the room. Claire smiled softly, watching the family she had rebuilt. She finally understood. Family isn't just who you're born to, it's who chooses to stand with you. Thanks you for watching, and please remember to tell us where you are watching from today. Hit the like button, comment and subscribe to this channel for more.